Hello, my name's Jenny Luscombe, and I'm a facilitator of healing and a passionate advocate for self-healing. So I'm just about to start my show on Holistic Radio on Telegram, which happens every Monday, 5 till 6 p.m. UK time. My topic today is going to be all about procrastination. So what exactly is going on when we can't commit to ourselves, particularly if we have a soul mission to do and we're getting this sense of urgency and there's something stopping us. And it can feel like a very physical thing, like a straitjacket. So there are parts of your consciousness that need your help. And that's all it is. And it's actually quite easy to sort out if you know how. So come and have a listen and see if it helps you. If it helps you, if it helps anyone, if you think it would help anyone else that you would like to forward it to, then go ahead. And if you would like and subscribe to my channel and any videos, I would love that too. And you're very welcome. Hello, this is Jenny Luscombe. This is Feeling is Healing. And today I'm going to be talking about what the heck is going on when we are desperate to step into our soul mission and we just have this frozen incapacity to act. And it feels like what we're trying to do is totally impossible and that we're barking up the wrong tree. And like there's an invisible force field. And it's like you've come up against sort of a brick wall or you're wearing a straitjacket. It feels sometimes very physical. So this is all about procrastination, really, and there's lots of different words for this. You know, we could call it avoidance, we could call it anxiety. It's basically protector parts of your consciousness that they feel like they're against you. They really do. But they're not actually against you. Like there are no parts of you that are actually against you. What's probably happening is that they're likely to be child versions of you that got frozen in time because at the time something happened, you didn't really know what to do about it. Your parents didn't have the skills or knowledge to help and support you. It might have been them that caused the problem. These parts of your consciousness are out of date with your current intentions and they need care. Now, this is the opposite of what many of us do. So what a lot of us do is we beat ourselves up because we're not good enough. We should be doing this thing. This is what we need to do. You know, we go into this negative self-talk, and that's why it feels like these parts are against you. But that's what's keeping you stuck, because what's really happening, the way out of this is to actually go towards this. So a lot of people don't want to hear this. The love and light brigade are not going to like me for saying this, but our emotions are the pathway forward, and that's our positive emotions as well as our negative emotions. And whatever anyone argues to the contrary, there's no way to do this apart from to go through. And it doesn't necessarily feel good. So I think out of all the gazillion agendas that there are in the world that are basically designed to hold us back or to mislead us, this is the most insidious one, the one that gave us the message that our emotions are wrong and bad, or that our emotions should just be skipped over. So this is extremely insidious because our emotions are our guidance system. They are the information that we specifically need. And the information that our emotions hold are different to the information that other people's emotions hold, but they are vital to our progress forward. So this insidious agenda convincing us to not be connected to ourselves emotionally is the worst one, in my opinion. And that's why I do what I do. So the emotions are the way. It feels like they're in the way, but that's by design, and it is a divine design, whatever anybody would like to say about that. It is the way. So the whole pharmaceutical industry, for example, is based on keeping us sick. So the average pharmaceutical drug will take you away from yourself. So if that's like an antipsychotic medication or antineurotic, like sleeping pills or antidepressants, then that's going to sort of give you this brain fog, which prevents you from feeling the emotion. Now, you need to feel the emotion in order to figure out why the emotion is there. There's information and treasure locked up inside all of this. If you're taking a pharmaceutical for some other reason, because you've got physical symptoms, that's taking you away from the physical symptoms that you actually need. Your body has given you the physical symptoms for very specific reasons, because it's your body shouting at you with a very specific message. It's specifically designed for you. So if you take the medications, they're going to take you further and further away from yourself. And it's unlikely that they are going to solve the problem that you have. It's more than likely that you will actually get louder symptoms. So your body will find more and more ways to shout at you through symptoms. Um, Obviously, other opinions are available, but my thing is emotion. So the idea, which is very popular, that we can just think our way out of all of this, that we can think positively. We just have to force ourselves, we have to force ourselves to create from the fullness and wholeness of who we are. It's false. And what we have to actually do is we have to go and pick up all the pieces of ourselves that got hurt and that got scattered all over the universe in order to be whole. We can't just pretend to be whole, because that's not going to work. We don't have to be perfect, but we have to let go of endedness. We have to let go of the idea that this is all going to be done and that everything is going to be perfect and that we're going to be whole at some point. The spiritual path is a lifelong journey. Healing ourselves is a lifelong journey. And the spiritual path is littered with contradictions. We just have to be with it all. So this show today is not just about procrastination, but it's about integration. So integration is what we're going for. It's the opposite of the fragmentation that happened to all of us because trauma happened. So what we have to do is we have to bring our light into the dark, and it is what life is. There's never a time when we've dealt with all of our shadows. You do hear people quite often say, "Oh, I've dealt with all my stuff." That's fine, and it's great that you've dealt with stuff. But that if you've dealt with all of your stuff, that would mean that nothing bad would ever happen again. And I don't know anyone that's happened to. So, people say, something that's quite misleading, that I come up against every now and then is, people say, but all you have to do is stay in your heart, assuming that staying in your heart means you're just going to be kind of the frequency of love. Your heart is going to show you abandonment. It's going to show you fear. It's going to show you joy. It's going to show you beauty. It's going to show you purity. It's going to show you both ends of the spectrum, because your heart is the core of you and it's your feeling. So your heart is going to show you the negative stuff if you connect with it, because you need to feel that and because you need to see that it's there. Your heart isn't just going to be giving out love and keeping you in the frequency of love. It's a good idea to set the intention to keep coming back to love. But there are walls around everyone's heart, and these walls are thick walls, like with layers and layers of emotion. And the only way to sort of bring those walls down is to be with them in an unconditional way and to put the time in as well. So your heart is your pain as well as your truth. And our truth is not just love and light, it is pain as well. And, the pain is for us to go through, not round, through. So being in your heart will reveal all of the layers. So the thing that can be quite misleading is that we think that we are one thing. We think that we are one personality, but everybody sort of has heard about multiple personality disorder and think that that's kind of an off the wall, kind of very rare occurrence. But actually, we all have that to some degree. Like most of us probably wouldn't meet a diagnosis, but we do all have multiple personalities. I mean, our ego thinks that we are one thing because our ego needs that for the purposes of coherence. So, how do we know that we're not one thing? Because we're mainly people pleasers. Um, this is something that we're trying to let go of if we're on a spiritual journey. We're aware that we want to be sovereign beings, we want to be our own authority. And we see that we got taken away from ourselves in a million different ways. So think about how you behave and how you feel and how you act when you're with different people. You're definitely different with different people. And there's a dark and a light to this. I mean, like the light side of it is, you might have a friend that is a film friend, you might have another friend that is a politics friend, or another friend who is like a friend that you can go hiking with, or have coffee with, or go out raving with, a dance friend. Like that's brilliant because these people are bringing out the multi-dimensional aspects of you in a positive way. Now, that's not dysfunctional, that's just living, that's living life. It's a beautiful thing. The dark side of people please sorry, the dark side of being different with different people is when you shut yourself down entirely as a result of trauma, kind of mainly enmeshment trauma, which is a huge thing that most people don't know about. But it's when it's not safe to be yourself when you're a kid, and you basically figure out how to keep on the good side of everybody that you know. So everybody thinks you're a really nice person and that you're great, and but that's because you people please them and they never have any kind of like conflict with you, or you just fall over yourself to do everything right for that person. Now it's really hard work. And considering that we do these kind of behaviors to try and stay safe, it isn't actually working anymore. I mean, it maybe used to work for some of your life, but those adaptive strategies have gone out the window now because of all the energies and the ascension process. So, yeah, if you're shutting yourself down to please other people, then you might realize, oh, okay, well, I'm actually quite different with this person than I am with that person. So, for example, with Bob, you might feel a bit shy, but with Fred, you might feel really confident, you know. So Fred's bringing out kind of something good from your frequency, like he's probably meeting a need for you. But Bob, he's also meeting a need for you because he's showing you an aspect of you that you suppressed. So this is probably an aspect of you that lacks confidence. Um, and also, how frequently do we say or do something and we've got absolutely no idea why we did that? We've got no idea why we did that. I quite often will have to apologize to my daughter because I don't know why I said the thing that I said, or I don't know why I did the thing that I did. Um, and we do say and do things that we just don't understand because they've come from a place, probably a child self. They've come from a place that we suppressed and we made it invisible to us because it was traumatic. So if we say to ourselves, who am I? Like, who the hell was that? Then we know that we're not one thing, that there are aspects of us that don't actually feel like they're within our control. Um, yeah, so um, as previously discussed on this show, I talk about fragmentation a lot. So our consciousness is split, and it's not just split in half, it's split in a million different ways. So in order to survive in this world, we had to do that. We had to split ourselves into pieces. Um, so very, very briefly, when we were children, we didn't have much control over our lives because we relied entirely on our parents. We are a relational species. And out of all the creatures on earth, we are probably one of the most dependent species in terms of our parents, and the length of time that we're dependent on our parents for. Now, when our parents disapproved of us in some way, we perceived that as extremely unsafe. So it kind of equates to like a fear of death, when you're a child and your parent disapproves of you. So we want to please our parents, and we see them as kind of gods, we see them as our food source, we see them as our love source, we want to please them. So we don't question them because they are our authority. Like if we saw them as wrong or bad in any way, that would make us very unsafe. So we automatically see ourselves as the bad guy. And we shut down the part of us that they disapproved of. And then that stays shut down until further notice. So we take that into our adult lives, and the fact that we've made that part of us invisible, it's kind of put something in our energy field that prevents us in some way. So by the time we get to adulthood, we've got a boatload of things in our energy field that are preventing us in some way. So this whole thing about stepping into our purpose and even knowing what that is and wanting to be ourselves and wanting to figure out the truth of us and what am I here to do and what is my soul mission and all of this. This is a particularly difficult one because this requires us to know ourselves, and we're all on this journey of trying to get closer and closer to who we really are. But we were all taken away from ourselves in so many different ways, not just in our families. And obviously it's not our parents' fault. Um, I'm quite sort of vocal about my family and my parents, and they don't listen to my show. They know that I teach about relationships and about all of this kind of stuff, but they're not really tuned into me or what I do. So I know they're not going to hear me, but at the same time, I don't feel bad about talking about them because I've made my peace with them, and it's there are a lot of teaching points. So people quite often say to me, "Don't you feel guilty talking about your mum in that way?" Blah blah blah. No, I don't. And it, I don't think that makes me a bad person. It just makes me brave. And to be quite honest, I see in quite a lot of clients that their reluctance to make their parents the bad guy holds them back a lot with their own healing. It prevents healing. You have to see the reality of what happened if you want to heal. So that was a little bit of an aside there. So I've got some questions for you to ask yourself, and I'm going to talk about my childhood a little bit just to give you an idea of what it is that you need to become aware of in terms of this inability to act. It's kind of like I totally don't have my agency, like I just cannot move forward. This has appeared to me in my body as like a force field. I'll explain why later. I want you to pay particular attention to the sensations that this show gives you in your body. So the sensations in your body, the physical sensations of the feeling of being prevented, because the sensation is key, and I can't emphasize that enough. So I've got this memory, which I think is quite possibly the core memory of all my woes. Now I think I'm not going to go into the memory in massive detail. I mean, I've literally done tapping on this memory probably about 10 times, because I think it's the thing that happened to me that caused me to separate from myself. And I think all of us have some kind of memory like this, and it's probably quite early on. So I think I was about three. Um, what was happening was I was out with my mum and my sister. My little sister wouldn't have been born then, but I think my mum might have been pregnant. So that might explain a lot. So what happened was we just been shopping in Tunbridge Wells. I think we were going into the multi-story car park, and I knew that I was afraid of lifts. So I think I'd started to freak out a little bit and probably piss my mum off. Um, as we kind of like got closer and closer, I started to get kind of more and more anxious. And obviously, I didn't say anything because my mum wasn't particularly supportive of fear or any emotion really. But what happened was we got to the lift doors, and my mum pushed the button, and you know, I think I was three. I must have already had quite a lot of issues with like that feeling of being out of control. You know, like a lot of people who are afraid of lifts, they don't like the trapped feeling, like the idea of not being able to get out, like the possibility that the lift might get stuck, you know. So I probably already had control issues at that point. So what happened was, she pushed the lift button, and then her and my sister got in the lift, and I just froze and I couldn't get in the lift. And then I just have this memory of they were standing in the lift and they were looking at me going, "Come on." And I sort of just froze and didn't get in the lift. And then the doors closed, and then I was completely on my own. So I had like all of these terrible emotions. I had, first of all, I had the fear of getting in the lift. Then I had the doors closing. So then I had the terror of being on my own. And what happened next was I started to hear some people in the stairwell. So there was, I think it was a man and a woman walking towards me. So then I had stranger danger, and I was all on my own, and I was three. And then I heard my mum and my sister get out of the lift on the floor above. And my mum was absolutely nuts. Like she was so angry with me. So she came charging down the stairs. I was, I think, probably screaming. I think I was screaming. And my mum was embarrassed because I was screaming. And she obviously felt like I was humiliating her. So not only did she shut down my fear, um, oh, there's so much going on here. Like basically, I've kind of written a list of all the things that I think I decided as a result of this issue. So I realized that I was not allowed to honor my own feelings. I wasn't allowed to be afraid. So that's two things. I wasn't allowed to honor my own feelings. I wasn't allowed to be afraid. I wasn't allowed to think for myself and make my own decisions. I wasn't allowed to choose, you know. Then because there were people in the corridor and I was scared of them because I was three, as a result of having stepped into myself and made a decision for my own best interests, I decided, oh, okay, so if you step into your own best interests, if you make a decision based on your emotion, then that means the world is out to get you and the world is dangerous and something bad will happen. So because these people appeared out of nowhere and they were probably completely harmless, but I was terrified because I was on my own and I was three, and I didn't have my mum there. I thought I was going to get kidnapped. I thought I was going to die. You know, I I've got this kind of like notion that if you choose, if you decide for yourself, if you don't do what other people are doing, then the world is dangerous. You know, like these are real beliefs that you get trapped in your body and you live your life through them. It's like wearing a million pairs of goggles. So you've got these goggles on, and then that's how that these are the channels that you experience life through. So in this experience, I I realized, if I choose myself and I don't go with other people, I suffer in a million different ways. So I was punished, I was screamed at, I think I was hit. So lots of things happened because I made a decision based on my own judgment and based on my own decision. So it was a terrible thing that happened to me. It was a terrible thing. It might not sound terrible, but the decisions that I made, the meaning that I gave, attributed to the situation as a result of that happening, stuck in my body all the way through childhood into adulthood. It severely inhibited my progress and my movement forward as a person. So just ask yourselves, were you allowed to be yourself? Were your parents quite strict? Because if they were, you were literally walking on eggshells from, the cradle. Um, were there specific times that you remember actually being shut down, particularly around boundaries, personal choices, self-expression, desires? What did you want that you couldn't get? And who did you want to be that you weren't allowed to be? Um, what were the things that your parents would say to you, kind of on a loop? So there were always kind of like family expressions, family stories as well, but family expressions. Like, a lot of us were just told to shut up, a lot of us were told, do as you're told. You don't get to choose. You don't get to have your own mind, kind of thing. Um, I was always, my mum would always, instead of saying it directly to me, she would say, Jennifer's getting too big for her boots. So, and she would say, Jennifer's got nothing interesting to say. Jennifer needs to be knocked down a peg or two. So the insidious thing about this was that she was always saying these things about me to someone else. So I sort of downloaded a lot of cruel kind of, it was just cruel. There was an intention to humiliate. So I kind of took on a lot of shame as a result of that. I was humiliated. Um, what did your parents say on a loop? Because, just those things that I've said there, they're not just one thing. So being told to shut up, Jennifer, you know, basically it could have been anything that I was expressing. That's a shutdown. So all of this contributes to your difficulty moving forward. Um, Jennifer needs to be knocked down a peg or two. So that suggests that when I was being confident or clever or funny or whatever it was, I was taught that that was too much. Um, Jennifer's got nothing interesting to say. So that would indicate that I wasn't good enough. So just there, I'm not good enough, but I'm also too much. I mean, the fuckery of that, really. I'm not good enough, but I'm also too much. Um, oh, there's so much. I've done so much work on this, and it doesn't sort of bring anything up in my nervous system. It's just, I'm grateful for all of this stuff that it's all happened, and it explains a lot about what's happened to me in my life. But what have you got? What have you got kind of trapped in your energy system? Because if you have something like I'm not good enough, but also I'm too much, you're kind of energetically doing this tightrope walk through life. Like you can't quite get it right. You know, you've got like a kind of this ceiling you can't go past, but you're also like trying to get off the ground as well. You're just not good enough. It's like it's a tightrope walk. It's so painful and it's so difficult. You might have had, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever generation you were from, really, this indifference, like this frequency of indifference, kind of that sense of being ignored, not heard, not validated, not understood, not really attuned to. I mean, basically, this is all survival mode stuff. What we actually needed to get into thrival mode was containment. Like we needed to be contained. We needed to have a safe space to create. We needed our parents to provide that for us, a space to create, a space to play, a space to discover, to learn, to grow, to experiment. These are things that typically a lot of us didn't get. So if we didn't get those things, then we just have to face the truth that we have arrested development in quite a few different ways. So if this happened to you, then you still have child aspects of you that never really grew up. Just because we're, standing in these bodies, we're in our 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, just because we're adults and we look like adults doesn't mean that our consciousness is fully adult, because it just isn't. And for spiritually awake people and for people awake to the systems, it's quite, it's quite difficult to come to terms with that. Like we think we've got this open mind and we're expanding the universe. We know that we're changing the frequency of the planet, on some level, like we're hugely powerful and we know we are. We know we are. But we've got these child versions that they just need our help. So I'm always talking about parts work, and we definitely need to go to the part of us that, and there's probably more than one part, but I think that the best way to do this is to start with physical sensation. So the way that and it doesn't feel quite so bad for me now, but I have in the past had like serious procrastination problems. It's kind of like I've known for years and years what my purpose is and what my life path is going to look like. But I've had so much baggage, like there's been so much, and I've spent years and years and years and years kind of working through all of this. So this doesn't feel as tormenting as it used to, because I know that I've made quite a lot of headway, but it goes up and down, the feeling for me, and this is going to be different for you all, the feeling for me of procrastinating, specifically around stepping into myself, it feels like a force. So it feels like an external force. It feels like there's actually something kind of holding me down or holding me away, like a really strong antagonist. So it, you can be forgiven for feeling like this part of you is against you, but ultimately your situation and there's going to be lots of different parts to this, but it's basically ultimately about power. So whether we would like to admit it or not, we were in a power struggle with our parents. So it was with me and my mum, it was me versus her, and that it was basically sort of personal power versus power over. So this is the thing that we're all facing, and it will look different to each person, but the sort of general flavor of it is pretty much the same. So what we have to do is bring awareness to this part. So how I would recommend starting, like the starting point has to be the physical sensation. So there's a temptation to be up in our head and this happened to me and that happened to me and this kind of victim mode, like going round and round in circles, and this should never have happened, and you have to have that. You have to go through the victim consciousness. You can't go around it. Like everybody has that to some degree. Um, I think like the main reason that sensation is a perfect way in is because I think you can make more progress with sensation because you're able to keep out of the story, and the sensation in your body is ultimately its energy. Like you can keep, if it feels really dark when you're looking at this stuff and you fall into a hole and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm still alive. I don't know how I got through all of this. I mean, self-compassion is key as well. But the trick to this is to be soft as well as acknowledging the force. So my mum was very forceful. Like you might not have had that. You might have been up against like all kinds of things that were different, but it would have been some kind of force. It wouldn't have been softness that is preventing your progress. So ultimately, we have to try and bring this dichotomy. We have to shine our light on this dark. So the way that I always recommend doing any kind of memory work or any kind of inner child work is to kind of remove yourself to a certain degree. Like what works really well is imagining that you're you from today, 2025, and you're looking at a cinema screen. So you're looking at your inner child as if they're a separate being from you. You feel emotionally connected to them. You're telepathic. You remember all of this stuff because it's you. But try not to be in their head looking through their eyes, because then you could re-traumatize yourself and then you could just get stuck in that emotion. I would recommend tapping. So either tap on the side of your hand underneath your little finger or on the center of your chest on the thymus point is perfect. There's loads of tapping points, there's hundreds of them. So have a little Google and just experiment with those and see which ones feel the most relaxing to you. The tapping itself will bring down your cortisol level. So when you're experiencing heightened emotion, which is the whole point, we need to experience the emotion of this in order to allow our body to express. That's our body expressing the stuff that got stuck, the stuff that is literally preventing us. So what I would recommend is tapping. And then I want you to bring into your mind, into your focus, this feeling of, I just can't do it. I just can't step into myself. I find a million things to do instead. I don't quite know how. I can't just get started and see how it goes. I have to have the full picture before I can take action. Like this feeling of excuses. I just keep making these excuses and you don't really know why you're doing it. And it feels like a force. I just can't do it. So what does that feeling generate in your body? So in my body, it feels like it's around my sort of solar plexus area, which makes sense because that's your center for your personal power. That's your personal power chakra, kind of deep in your belly. And to me, it feels like a kind of suffocation, like almost like I can't breathe, like I can't move. There is a sense of like holding my breath and just standing still and hoping that nothing bad happens. It's kind of like that kind of free, like proper freeze, proper freeze mode. So be the force that you're feeling. And if it feels unbearable, just dip your toe in and stay in it for as long as you can, but make sure that you're tapping. Now, when you crack this, when you're able to stay with the sensation, it will start to move. So you'll get a feeling somehow of flow. And it still might not feel good. It might feel bad. It might feel negative for a while. But just be the witness be the observer. So imagine that you're looking at it with curiosity, and any amount of awareness and attention and witnessing that you bring to this is going to be helping, and it's going to be bringing more light and more energy into your system. So this force, this sensation in your body, it could be anything. So it could be a pain, it could be a sensation kind of like fizzing, or like, but a feeling of bubbling. It could be heightened emotion, it could be anger, rage, frustration. It could be a sense of just tension or tightness. So when you're paying attention to a sensation, it's not just going to be the physical sensation of that. There's going to be other aspects to it as well. So you might get colors, you might get memory, you might have realizations. So if you're able to stay with the sensation, this is when emotion and energy in the body will turn into information. So the more you feed the sensation with your awareness, the more understanding about this you will get. So the reason that you suppressed these aspects of you in the first place was because you didn't want to see some stuff. You didn't want to see things. So you probably made decisions about yourself that felt really uncomfortable. For example, the things that I said before, the world is dangerous if I choose myself. If I decide something for myself and step away from my family, and when I have autonomy, I end up on my own, and then the world is dangerous. Like I might sound a bit facetious, but this is deeply painful and deeply limiting in your energy field, especially if you don't know it's there. So when you pay attention to sensation, you are receiving information that is like gold to you. So this information will come to you just in ideas. Whatever you're thinking at the time when you're doing this is relevant. Whatever your mind goes to, whatever you're thinking is going to be connected to this force in your body, this feeling of I just can't. It will help you surface limiting beliefs about yourself because things happened. It will help you to surface emotion. So keep tapping and keep paying attention to the sensation. The sensation will keep changing, just as the information will keep changing. It's basically a stream of consciousness. So this stream of consciousness, like it might sound something like this, like I did a bit of this earlier. I did a bit of journaling when I was tuning into this aspect of me. And this is what I wrote down, this the sensation of finding it hard to act in my body. It felt like I'm powerless. I just can't act in my best interests. This freeze mode. I don't trust myself to create. I wasn't allowed to have any boundaries, wants, dreams, needs, desires. I wasn't allowed to be myself. I couldn't be who I wanted to be. I was obligated. I was obligated to go to church. I was obligated to go to school. I was obligated to do things a certain way. And every time I stepped out of that, something bad happened. It felt like slavery. And there was a sadness that rose out of it. That was the main. I mean, I've worked on this like to the nth degree. Oh my God, so much. Sadness is often the emotion that is underneath a boatload of anger. And I feel like I've done all of that. I've done the anger and the resentment piece. So the sadness, like I felt this sensation in my head, and I also had like a sort of wave of confusion as well, and it felt like loads of tracks playing in my head all at once, like just that ADHD feeling of being scattered all over the universe. Yeah, I went through a layer of sadness and a layer of confusion, and then I had a past life memory of being a man on the battlefield, as you do, which made me think, my childhood was really military, and that's, I think, why that memory came, because I think I have been a man on the battlefield quite a few times actually in my life. I think I have been war energy. My mum was extremely military and she was educated by nuns, which explains a lot if anybody knows anything about the Catholic religion. Um, I remember when I went and had counselling, when I first started to have my spiritual awakening and just like my head opened and all this trauma came up. And I just remember saying to her, when I was talking about my childhood, because I didn't understand it then at all. And she asked me about me and my sisters and what it was like for us and whether we got on with each other. And I said, well, me and my sisters, like, we just felt like a herd of cows. And it's like at the time I thought, what the fuck am I talking? What is this? I didn't even understand myself like what I meant. But when I look back on it now, and I literally got this piece of information the other day, this information and knowledge about myself because I tapped into it for the first time. And it made me realize this herd of cows feeling like we were all treated the same and we weren't the same. We were really different to each other, like so different, and we still are. But none of us were attuned to. We were all treated the same, basically like slaves. We were not attuned to. It felt like we were herded. It felt more like an institution. I think I've got lots of past lives of being institutionalized and being in slavery kind of situations. That kind of sense of orders are being barked at you rather than being spoken to and connected with, you know. Um, yeah, that kind of lack of attunement is the basis of all of our woes, really. So if you can bring some self-awareness to how attuned were your parents to you, like how connected did you feel, that will get you everywhere. So when you're paying attention to all this sensation of the procrastination, you will get all this information. You might have quite abstract visuals and it could be past life stuff. You don't have to understand it all. Just witnessing it as if it's all happening on a cinema screen is perfect. That's like the perfect way to do it. If you have like a memory come up, like my memory of the lift, um, you don't have to go into it, but I would highly recommend if your mind has given you a specific memory, and particularly if the memory seems quite vivid in terms of you can remember detail, you can remember the curtain color, you can remember the look on people's face, you can remember the weather, you can remember the colors. If you've got really vivid memory and it's a memory that's not a good memory, then that's a sign that there's trauma there. There's something for you to see. So your mind kept it brightly coloured for the very moment that you were ready to go back and have a look. That's how much your body and your mind loves you. Yeah, so you don't have to go into a memory, but I would highly recommend doing that. If you do go into a memory, then the same applies. I think the idea of having your inner child on a screen, on a cinema screen, and you being you from 2025, keep yourself separate from them, apart from the emotional connection. So you don't have to do this in any certain way. You need to keep yourself safe. It can be overwhelming doing this. That's why I recommend doing this tapping. If it's particularly a particularly difficult memory, just do it in little stages. Do like 5 minutes a day or something like that, because there is an end to the processing of a memory. Like, earlier I said there's no end to this healing. There isn't really an end to healing. It will just go on and on and on, because the universe is expanding, and we can just keep the universe is infinite. We can just keep moving forward, moving forward, moving forward. And like the emotion that we're experiencing, the obstacles that come up, they are our path. That's the path. That's what the systems and the everything, the dark, they don't want us to find the path. They don't want us to make our way through. So there is no end to that journey. But for a specific memory, there is an end to that processing. So the more you go back in to that memory and you allow the emotion to be there, just witness it, you will actually move through layers and layers of emotion. So see your inner child on a screen. Don't be in their head looking through their eyes. Be you. Be in your consciousness from 2025, witnessing and observing their emotional experience. And then just keep it simple. Keep asking yourself, what are they saying to themselves now? What are they deciding about themselves because that happened? Because this person said that, or because, this event happened. What are they saying to themselves because that happened? What are they thinking to themselves? It's always a story. What are they saying to themselves? What's the narrative? Because a child saying something to themselves, it's very unlikely to be, accurate. It's particularly a child that isn't receiving the support that they need, and isn't getting their needs met. It's not going to be the whole truth. So when you bring your objective awareness to their subjective awareness, you get the full picture. This is what brings the resolution that your body needs. So there's loads of ways to do it. Ultimately, stay in the memory for as long as you can, and the more you stay with their emotional experience, it will change. It will be like watching a film, and it's not you generating that. It's not you doing it. It's not you imagining it. It's your subconscious mind co-creating with you. It's like a natural, organic experience. So they might start with feeling upset, crying, feeling ashamed, angry, humiliated, whatever it is. And then the more that you pay attention, the more that you let their emotion be there as you're watching them and you're tapping, it will start to change. Your mind will work with you. This is your mind, your body, and your heart working together, it's like a trinity of perfection in terms of how to do healing work. You need your mind, you need your body, you need your heart. You have to feel it. You have to let the feelings be there. So you'll work through layers with your inner child, just witnessing and observing them. Um, it may or may not feel right to step into the memory after you've let them feel for a while and you've observed and witnessed it. They're not aware of you. But if they suddenly become aware of you, then that's almost like an energetic invitation to step into the memory with them. And this takes practice. It might feel like you're making it up at first, but you will know when a lightness comes to the memory, because the child will look different in your mind's eye. Like it will feel like the sun's come out, or now they've stood up instead of being all hunched over, and now they're not crying anymore. They're looking at you, or they're smiling, or something will change because you're tapping and because you've observed and witnessed that emotion. So if you do decide to step into the memory, deal with it as if you're really talking to them. So yeah, kind of like connect with them and say, I'm you from the future, and I've come all the way back to help you with your feelings because no one else did, and would you like to talk to me? So be really gentle, because they might not want to talk to you. If they do seem willing, then that's great. If they don't seem willing, that's also great because it gives you a clue. If they don't want to connect with you, that's okay. So just say, all right, well, you don't have to. I want you to be in control. You can just you can just go over there and hide behind the curtain, or you can go and sit on the stairs, or sometimes taking them to another place is a nice way to do it, like a mountaintop or a place in nature or something like that, or a place that you used to like when you were a kid. A good question to ask them is, what did you really need that you were just not getting when you experienced that thing? And then allow the answer to come. It's not you generating this, it's coming from the depths of your subconscious. So you will just get an answer. And then just have a conversation with them. And then just try to think of creative ways that you can meet their needs. And creative is I mean, it's just the most beautiful way to do it. Like everyone's different. I'm always a bit reluctant to sort of give a step-by-step sort of set of instructions because I'm not you. You know, I'm different to any of you. Like you will all have your own different ways of tuning into yourself. Some people are very visual. Some people are not visual at all. Some people are very sentient. Some people are very auditory, like they'll remember things like the sound of the glass shattering or the the door slamming or the tension in someone's voice or some people really remember smells like the smell of the Sunday dinner or the smell of the fireworks, whatever it was. It's a multi-sensory experience. But what you're ultimately trying to do is to witness, to hear, to see, to feel, to sense, to know, to understand this version of you, to allow the all the emotion to be there without resisting it, and just let it flow. So kind of see this as a like you're kind of completing a circuit. It's almost like you in order for the emotion, which is basically electricity, it's some kind of frequency, it's power of some kind, it's energy. In order for the lack of resolution in your body that's been causing the problem, in order for that to be resolved and for you to be able to move forward, this energy has to ground. So you can complete a circuit literally by being present with your inner child that is generated from being with this sensation. So paying attention to the sensation in your body will bring the exact memory that you need to focus on because the natural intelligence of your body will take you there. Some people might be very resistant to going to memory and to working with inner children, and that's okay. You don't have to do it that way. You can just do it with frequency. If you want to completely stay out of the story, you can do it that way. Um, you might it might be hard because the body and mind is going to generate information, visual stuff. But staying with the sensation is a really, really valid way to go for that if you do feel extremely traumatized and you're not quite ready to go for the memory. There isn't a right and there isn't a wrong, really. I realized as well when I was tapping earlier, when I was kind of like trying to get some information so that I could talk on the radio about the stream of consciousness, like, what comes out of the sensation, this sadness, this confusion, this man on the battlefield memory, this military mum, all of that stuff. And I remembered having this memory of, I was always saying to my best friend at secondary school, I was always saying to her, I feel really incomplete. I've got this incomplete feeling. And she always used to laugh at me, but I hadn't remembered that. And isn't that interesting that I didn't know anything about fragmentation then? I didn't understand trauma. I didn't even realize I was a traumatized human and that we all were back then. But the feeling that I had when I felt uncomfortable was a sense of being incomplete. It just like came to me in a flash. But that kind of highlights what we are all actually looking for is unity. And we're mainly looking for that in the external. We want unity in the external. The way to get that is to bring unity within yourselves. So if we can bring unity within the microcosm, the macrocosm, we have to see it outside of us. So literally the most important thing we could do on planet Earth right now is inner work, like integration, any kind of awareness or witnessing of your previous selves, memories, sensations, even just sitting in silence and watching your mind, any of it is bringing unity. So I would highly recommend having a go. And if you can, while you're kind of like paying attention to all of this force and darkness and difficulty, try to bring softness and compassion to your inner children and to your body that's suffering and to your life that might be suffering. Softness is the antidote to all of this force, all of this power over. And I know it's hard to feel gratitude for all this stuff, but what our traumatized selves really need is they need to be welcomed. You know, we can't push this stuff away anymore. Pushing ourselves away is literally the definition of shame. And shame is the lowest frequency that there is. We can't keep pushing this stuff away. We have to bring it in. We have to bring it back. We have to welcome it. So gratitude, compassion, and softness, which is quite hard to generate when you're looking at all of this, but this dichotomy of the dark and the light is it's going to change everything for all of us. So I hope that's helped everybody. So I'm going to stop now. I've just realised it's 6:05. So I can see there's a couple of people on the live with me. If anybody would like to chip in or say anything.
You got lost in yourself there. You didn't realise what time it was.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been fascinating listening to you today, as it always is. One of the things I've always tried to do with my whole, over many, many times is focus on the bad parts of your inner self, focus on the frailties, focus on your inadequacies. Don't let them fester. Don't leave them alone. Don't leave them to fester whilst focusing on your good bits, because your good bits are always going to be your good bits.
Yeah.
And if you can bring your bad bits up, at least, to a modicum of equality with your good bits, then great. And but your good bits will always flourish. That's why they're good.
Yeah, and it's about loving all of it. And it's not easy. It takes a bit of practice. It really does.
It does. Yeah, you can't do it overnight, and it does take years of meditation. It takes years of focus. It takes practice to find them first. You got to find all of them.
Yeah.
You might not realise just exactly what your frailties or insecurities or what your bad bits are, and once you've found them, once you've discovered them, then you've got to learn how to focus on them and raise them up, not let them vibrate as low as they do, and get them vibrating a bit higher.
Yeah. And the only way to do that is to just let it all be there. Let it be there instead of resisting it, for sure.
Exactly. Yes, definitely.
But something
what you've been talking about today and the way that you've gone about it is exactly what people need to hear. They need to know that there is that facilitation there, that you can deal with it. That, there are reasons why they're there, and you need to discover what they are, so that then you can show them the light. For a better phrase.
Yeah. But there was something that I wanted to ask actually, Andy. Like, I would quite like to do a parts work session live, like a proper parts work session with a client. And I was wondering, I might just say if anybody wants to do that. I mean, because we're doing it on audio, you wouldn't have to I wouldn't have to give your name on the radio. Like if you wanted to be anonymous, if anybody would like to have a free session, a free therapy session for the benefits of me teaching parts work so that people can see what that looks like. Because I could do parts work with myself, and I've thought of doing that, but it's quite hard to teach at the same time as doing the therapy. Do you see what I mean? Like I've done it a couple of times with people on video that have been willing, but because of the nature of it, it's like, not everybody wants to have their deepest, darkest stuff kind of published to the world. But if anybody wanted to anonymously have a parts work session for the benefits of the radio, I would love to do that.
D-flyer thing,
Mm.
or even a poll asking if people would be interested in something like that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's something I've been thinking of doing.
If you can find a willing participant.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I keep thinking about this, and then I keep forgetting to ask anybody. I mean, I have got a couple of clients who might do that.
Well, if you've got something that you already know, then that's great. But if you want to put it out there and ask, go and see if there's anybody that wants to partake in something like this.
Yeah, I think I'll do that. I'll put something together this week and see what I get back. Because even if I get more than one person, I'm quite happy to do free sessions for the purposes of teaching. Because I just think everybody needs to be doing parts work. I think everybody needs it. If they want to go in that direction. But
if people can hear what's involved by listening to yourself and somebody else going through that process, it may be more inclined to find that a favourable thought than to take it further.
Yeah. Well, I think people love a story, don't they? People love a story, but people always you also yeah, but you also have to show people as well, don't you? Like people like to be shown. It's all very well going, this is how you do it, step by step or whatever, but to see and to hear and feel and kind of just feel into what that really is and like how you could apply that to yourself, I think would be really valuable. Yeah, so if anybody would like to have a go at that, come on down.
Get in touch with Jenny.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, what I'll do is I'll stop the recording. There, we've done that.
Thanks, Andy.
Stop that. I'll get that posted up in a minute or two. But yeah.
Thanks everybody for listening. If you would like further information about self-healing, or you would like to book a session with me with EFT tapping, quantum healing, or the emotion and body code, then please get in touch with me at JennyLuscombeEFT.co.uk. Thanks, everybody.